WCBI News at 9 on CW4 starts now.
Conversations sparking change in our community. That's what happened tonight in Columbus. Thanks for joining us tonight at 9. Tonight, city and community leaders, they met for a virtual town hall. The group discussed key issues such as the police department's use of force policy, as well as strengthening community relations. Police Chief Fred Shelton introduced a policy called Duty Intervene, where an officer, regardless of rank, must step up to break up a situation where another officer is using excessive force. Community members feel the relationship between the police and the city is extremely important moving forward.
We can't trust the police if we don't see them in the streets every day. So as much as they go out, show their face in the community and make friends in the community, you know, it's not necessarily someone is telling or talking to the police behind scenes, just getting involved in the community, having the police, the right police, getting involved in the community with us and being the face that people can see and trust in the community.
Now, plans are in the making for another meeting here in the near future. Well, some summer camps, they're also going virtual. This is all thanks to COVID-19. Camp Rising Sun, it kicked off yesterday. Every morning and afternoon, counselors, they go online to do arts and crafts, music and reading sessions. And to make sure that each camper is able to participate in every day, counselors put together supply boxes that they'll need for activities. Directors say that using a virtual method keeps everyone engaged and able to stay active in their homes.
We've tried to keep our traditional activities such as arts and crafts. We're going to have a talent show, just like we always do. We're going to have a dance. They're going to be taught some line dances and do some things like that to make them more interactive.
Directors plan to resume in-person camp by June of 2021. New tonight, there's still no treatment for COVID-19, but there are hundreds of clinical trials searching for a solution. A new one launching today right here in Mississippi. Courtney Ann Jackson explains.
COVID-19 is a respiratory illness, so GI Associates in Flowood may not be on the list of likely places for a clinical trial idea to spur. But think again.
There are several GI diseases that we have this inflammatory cascade. It's the same cascade of events, the cytokine storm that you see with the COVID-19.
See, Dr. Reed Hogan's research team had already been looking at that inflammation in the gastrointestinal tract for the last 10 years.
After the phone call from a big pharma player saying, haven't you treated COVID yet? And the question was, why do you ask? I said, you know it's the same pathway. We felt obligated to figure it out.
GI Associates is partnering with St. Dominic's for an outpatient trial. Hogan says they've had success with the synergy that happens with the combination of two over-the-counter drugs, both histamine receptor blockers, cetirizine and famotidine.
The nice thing about this is it's easily available, rapidly scalable, so this could be used in third world countries and impoverished nations as a quick, rapid approach to try to lessen the morbidity and mortality.
St. Dominic's chief medical officer and infectious disease specialist says with no commercial vaccine currently available for this new disease, this type of research is vital to advancing the response to COVID-19. And the outpatient trial is significant because the goal is to keep patients from progressing to the point where they need hospitalization.
There's a scream for preventing progression of this disease. This is, if we can be successful in lessening the impact of the cytokine storm, keeping people out of the hospital and off the ventilators, it'll be a major improvement for our health care.
Courtney Ann Jackson, WCBI News.
Now, just like other trials you've heard about, this isn't your cue to go and buy up these drugs. The trial is designed to figure out what ratio of the two is needed for possible treatment of COVID-19, and you don't need to play doctor at home. Never a good idea. Now, with the state of Mississippi slowly reopening, it's still important for people to know COVID-19 still exists, and positive cases are here in the state continue to go up. Just yesterday, the Mississippi Department of Health reported its largest single-day increase of 498 COVID-19 cases. Those new cases brought the state's total to well over 17,000. Most cases were in people the 18 to 29 age range. Clay County Sheriff Eddie Scott says that it's important that people continue to follow all health guidelines and rules that are in place for the county that you live in.
Reminding people that the COVID is still very serious. We're still seeing it right here in our own communities. We're out working as far as encouraging people with social distancing. We have curfews still in place here at Clay County. We have additional security measures at all county buildings. We know it's an inconvenience, but right now it's just a way of life.
Late today, MSDH says 341 new cases have been reported since yesterday and 10 new deaths. The Mississippi Department of Education releases a plan for school districts designed to help prepare them to reopen as COVID-19 continues to be an issue in Mississippi. MDE teamed up with 9 school superintendents from all across the state who came up with 6 areas to focus on, and those areas are broken down into a 3-month timeline. Now, the goal of this is to give districts an idea on ways to start classes back up, but minimizing the spread of possible coronavirus. Now, state law requires schools to provide 180 days of instruction each school year. MDE is also working on policies that will help with scheduling to be flexible. Now, to view that outline, just visit WCBI.com.
It's been a sultry evening across our region. A lot of sunshine, though, and the sun went down. We are still very warm as of the 9 o'clock hour. Temperatures in the low 80s here. The heat index still around 90. It is just steamy out there. At least we have a bit of a southerly breeze stirring things up. No rain on radar. We are looking at some showers and storms way back here into Texas and Arkansas. A few strong storms, too. Those storms will likely weaken as they approach later on tonight after midnight, probably after 2 o'clock in the morning and through the early part of our Wednesday morning, and a chance for some of those showers or thunder showers. Back into the 80s tomorrow afternoon. We'll clear things out by midday. It will be warm, not as humid in the afternoon, so the humidity factor will drop after the morning hours as a cold front moves on through. So overall, not too bad. Your 7-day forecast coming up.
This past weekend, protesters in Columbus marched from the police department to the Lowndes County Courthouse and what they're calling the Jesus and Justice Rally. Now, the rally focused on things like racism and equality, but some spectators couldn't help but notice the Confederate statue on the courthouse lawn. Some attendees calling it an ominous, looming figure. Now, as our Cash Matlock reports, some are calling to have the statue removed.
If you look at this monument at a certain angle, it looks like a figurehead of a Ku Klux Klan.
District 5 Supervisor Leroy Brooks says he's been bringing up the issue with the Confederate monument outside of the Lowndes County Courthouse for years now.
I've brought it at different junctions to the Board of Supervisors, and it kind of fell on deaf ear. And, you know, I don't really know what historical value it serves.
But Brooks isn't the only one upset about the statue. Recently, several conversations have cropped up online, some advocating for the removal of the monument, others wishing to preserve it. Brooks says talking about the issue online isn't enough.
If you're really that strong about it, come to the board. You know, and I don't know whether the board has the sole authority to move it or not, but at least there needs to be some discussion and debate about the validity of maintaining this statue.
Brooks says many in the African American community do not look back on the Confederacy fondly.
It's not something we cherish. You know, it's for many African Americans, we did not see the Civil War as we've read it and stated about it. That was something, it was the whole issue of maintaining slavery. And so it's not something that we'll go around and pound our chests about.
He says before the statue can be removed, there has to be a conversation.
Let's find out who has authority to move it, what it's going to take to move it, what kind of opposition's out there, and find out, you know, what can we do. I'm sure there are things that we could put here in this spot that pay homage to all Americans, all citizens in Lowndes County, Columbus.
The Board of Supervisors don't intend to discuss the monument at their next meeting. However, that could change. Earlier this week, the University of Alabama took down memorials of Confederate soldiers as well as plaques honoring students who served in the Confederate Army. There could also be a move in the state legislature to change Mississippi's flag. Mississippi Today is reporting that a bipartisan group of House lawmakers is drafting a resolution to change the state flag. Suspending the rules to consider the change would require 2/3 of the House to move forward. If approved, the legislation would move on to the state Senate, where it faces an unknown fate. The online news publication says this resolution would replace the current state flag with what is known as the Stennis flag. House Speaker Philip Gunn and Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann have both expressed support for changing the state flag. Governor Tate Reeves believes Mississippi voters should have their say on the flag at the ballot box. In Idaho, there could be a major break in the case of 2 missing children. Details on that story coming up next.
WCBI News at 9 on CW4 with Scott Martin.
Welcome back, everyone. There are new developments tonight in a nearly year-long missing persons case that has stretched from Idaho to Hawaii. The stepfather of 2 missing children is behind bars after investigators make a grisly discovery on his property. CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti has the very latest.
Tonight, Chad Daybell taken away in handcuffs. Investigators digging in his backyard. The latest twist in a months-long search for 8-year-old JJ and 17-year-old Tylee.
The investigators and detectives have recovered what's believed to be human remains that are not identified at this time.
Rexburg police say those human remains are now being analyzed. CBS News has learned 20 members of the FBI are now scouring the property. It's the second search of his Idaho home. The stunning developments happening more than 3 months after Daybell's wife, Lori Vallow, was arrested for defying a court order to prove her kids were alive. These are the last images of JJ, who disappeared on September 23rd. His sister Tylee last seen earlier that month in Yellowstone National Park. Vallow and Daybell married in November, shortly after Daybell's then-wife Tammy suddenly died. Her death is under investigation. The newlyweds moved to Hawaii without the children. Vallow was extradited to Idaho in